Hi, this is Mark Allen, six-time Ironman Triathlon World Champion and author of The Art of Competition. Do you want to transform your entire experience in the sport of triathlon? If you do, come put that transformation in place at the Triathlon Research High Performance Camp in Boulder, Colorado from August 25th through 29th. I'll be there for the closing day of this amazing camp, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be a part of it. I'll be presenting some thought-provoking insights from my most recent book, The Art of Competition, where I will show you how you can get more out of the sport and how you can transfer those principles to all areas of your life. I'll also be there for the entire day's worth of workouts for the grand finale of your 5 days exploring and experiencing new levels in your triathlon performance. If you sign up for the Triathlon Research Camp, you'll get a free copy of my book, which I'll be happy to sign for you at the dinner that we'll all share together on the closing day. The Triathlon Research Camp is going to be incredible. To take part in this once-in-a-lifetime experience, go to triathlonresearch.org/camp. But please hurry, as spots are going to be limited so that we can provide you with the best possible personal coaching experience.
Welcome to Triathlon Research, the podcast that brings together the world's best triathlon coaches, athletes, equipment experts, and medical professionals to get you the right information that you need to race past your personal best and get more enjoyment out of your triathlon journey. Triathlon Research, where we teach you how to train smart. Here's your host, Samuel Cook, founder of Triathlon Research.
Hi, Triathlon Research listener. This is Sam Cook, the founder of Triathlon Research, and I'm having a very interesting podcast today with someone from the hidden side of the sport, not an athlete or a coach, but someone who's really done a lot to advance the sport on the business side, both as a business owner in the world of bike fitting with Retul, but also as a manager for professional triathletes. So without further ado, I'm just going to introduce Franko Vatterott. And Franko, tell me if I butchered your last name. Go ahead and correct me if I did that, and just introduce yourself.
Hi, Sam. Yep, you got my name pronounced right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wear a couple different hats in the endurance sports space. One of them is I work at Retul, and I'm one of the founders at Retul here. And also I operate the Human Interest Group, which is a professional sports management company specializing in triathlon.
All right. So, Frank, I just wanted to dig in a little bit before we get into, I think we've got some really cool stories for people on the podcast to listen to relating to your management of not just any professional athlete, but crowie. Craig Alexander, three-time Ironman world champion with the course record at Kona, and go through some of his adventures with bike fitting, I guess we'd call it. But before we get into that with crowie and then just talking about your behind-the-scenes view of the sport, talk us through how you got into the industry, first of all in Retul and also in the Human Interest Group, because those are both pretty interesting stories about how someone gets into this business.
Sure. So I grew up in the Midwest, and triathlon really wasn't existing there when I was young in the early '80s, so my first job out of school took me out to Park City, and I worked in the ski industry, and I went to school here in Boulder, and I took an opportunity to come back to work for a kind of a sports technology company that brought me back to Boulder after a little stint in ski industry. That was kind of a unique product at the time. We simulated altitude, and so it was pretty new at that point, where altitude tents and altitude rooms and athletes starting to play around with hypoxic training. And so it was a startup company at the time, and I think I was like employee 3 or something. And this is in 2001. And I had never really, I probably knew what triathlon was, but I don't think other than seeing the word, I don't think I knew anything about it. And started with this company, and they had kind of laid out the markets I was to go after: cycling, triathlon, running, all that. And they decided to send me out to do an expo in Hawaii at a triathlon, and happened to be Ironman World Championships. So that was my first, introduction to triathlon. And, I was just psyched to go to Hawaii to actually work. But I got out there, and upon seeing just that demographic of people and the training they were doing, and then of course the race, I was just blown away, and basically been inventing jobs ever since then. So that did that for a couple of years, and then in that realm, I was given an opportunity to work with a sheikh of Dubai. He was interested in using altitude for race horses. And at that point we had never done anything. We'd only worked with, elite athletes at that point, really. And so I worked on a project that, took me back and forth to Dubai and the UK, where his race horses, Godolphin Stables was their home. And as I was doing that, happened to be during the Athens Olympics when I was spending a lot of time over there, and one of the UAE athletes had won a gold medal, and I think it was their first gold medal, and it was, a massive deal in the city of Dubai. And so I happened to just be there, and the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum was the crown prince of the city at that time, and he invited me to go to a parade and stuff to celebrate their gold medal. And we just started talking about sports. He was pretty interested in kind of some of the results that the human athletes had gotten by using altitude training, and how that could potentially apply to horses. So as I continued that relationship, and I also, at that point had worked with, Tim DeBoom and Peter Reed and some of the big names in the sport and Ironman at that point. I also kind of paid a lot of attention to the way their sponsorships worked and who they were promoting, and as they were doing Ironman, and it was definitely different than most of the other sports that I had been exposed to, cycling, and we did a little bit with field sports in the U.S. as well. So as I got to know these athletes, I kind of thought, well, what if you could put a team together, kind of a superstar team? And long story short, I was able to get the sheikh to believe in this concept, and we started what was then called Try Dubai, which was kind of the first professional team at that point in the sport. And that led me to meet Craig Alexander, who joined the team in 2006, and then he went on to win the Ironman 73 World Championships. I think that was the first year actually in Clearwater, which gave him a spot to go to Kona the next year. And in between that time, the Try to Buy team, the sponsorship dried up, and which was pretty depressing for me. It was a big project, and all of a sudden kind of came to a screeching halt, as sometimes these big sponsorships do. And I kind of buried my head in the sand and tried to figure out what I wanted to do after that died. But Crowie and I stayed in touch, and about 6 months later, I connected with an old colleague of mine who showed me a very rudimentary motion capture system that he had been working on in kind of the surgical navigation world. And that's how Retul was born. So that was like late 2007, we launched Retul, and that was right when Crowie was starting to transition from being a short course athlete to doing Ironman. And I was watching he and his wife, trying to manage sponsorships at that point. And he asked me to manage him. That was kind of the first time I'd managed an individual athlete versus a team. And that was kind of how it all started. So it's been a great ride with Craig. And and as I was managing him at the very early days of Retul, when Retul was, bleeding money as a startup, Craig happened to go and get second in Kona, his very first attempt. And, we kind of had a great little run here the last 7 or 8 years with him, winning just about everything he touched. And that kind of grew the sports management side of the business. And Retul and the Human Interest Group have lived kind of harmoniously together, and there's a lot of crossover between the two. So that's kind of the story as of